Ladies and gents, this is the review you've been waiting for. Hello everybody and welcome to my review of The Greatest Showman. Directed by Michael Gracey, starring Hugh Jackman, Zac Efron, Zendaya, Michelle Williams, Rebecca Ferguson, and many more. This is a very interesting movie. This is the latest musical movie, yay, to Grace on screens. I generally mean that, that's not sarcastic, yay. I went with a friend of mine to watch this. I'd heard a lot of good things about it, and the trailer actually did intrigue me. So the story of this film is that it's basically a biographical account, in a manner of speaking, of this man named P.T. Barnum, who basically rose from nothing to create a worldwide sensation with his circus act. And he chooses the most obscure people to join his group, proving that the unorthodox could be extraordinary. But through this, he does learn a few valuable life lessons along the way. It causes a lot of problems with his family. He kind of gets a bit selfish and obsessed. He brings in this other guy, Philip Carlyle, to help invest and also become his partner in this. Then Philip forms a relationship with Anne Wheeler, who is this trapeze artist, and they have to prove to the world that they are a sensation and that the world needs them, and that, and then PT learns a valuable lesson that there's more to life than fame and fortune and success. So that's essentially what you have going on in this film, and like La La Land, they tell this through sing-song, if you know what I mean. So, The Greatest Showman, I really liked this film. I thought it was very well done. I wasn't sure what to think of it when I was going into it. I thought, okay, this is either going to go one way or the other. There was so much hype around it. One of my best friends had seen it and said that it was amazing, and that he cried at during one of the opening songs. My sister has also seen it twice. She loves it. She's big into musicals, and I was always going to see it, regardless of the reviews, because I myself am into musical theatre. I like being in them, and I like watching them. And yeah, I really enjoyed this one. It was a very interesting film. I wouldn't say the story was anything spectacular. I mean, this is a very typical musical story. It's a very typical story. You'd find it anyway. It's a little bit generic, not completely. I mean, the way they do it is good, but the aspects of the story, like the sort of the base, the premise, I should say, is quite generic. We've seen it before. It's, someone who creates a big show, and then, it all falls apart and they all have to rebuild it back again. We've seen this before. We've seen this premise before loads of times, but what kept it interesting for me was not only the music and the choreography. I mean, this thing should be on stage. This thing should be on Broadway. Get it on the West End. Get it on Broadway right now. But I really liked the characters. I thought P.T. Barnum was a great protagonist. Hugh Jackman plays him. Hugh Jackman is one of the most fantastic performers we have in the industry. He is so good at what he does. This is the guy that plays Wolverine, and he's also played Jean Valjean in the Les Mis film, and many other Broadway roles. He played Gaston in Beauty and the Beast on stage one time, and there's a funny story that he actually pissed his pants on stage. Look it up. There's a clip on Graham Norton's show. Anyway, he puts on an American accent for this role, because he's Australian and the character is American. And Hugh Jackman has a superb singing voice. He was made to perform. He was born to do this, and he gives the role everything. I mean, he is just fabulous in this film. He is, I mean, he's in his 50s, and the energy of that man is amazing, especially in the numbers between him and Michelle Williams, and also him and Zac Efron have a number together as well. But Hugh Jackman once again steals the show. He never gives a bad performance, and this is no exception. He said goodbye to Wolverine, but he has not said goodbye to his theatre performances. I would love to see him do this on stage. I'd actually go and watch it. I would. I'd pay that money. Michelle Williams plays his wife, Charity Barnum. Barnum. I can't speak. And she's rather good. She's not only a very beautiful woman to look at, she's also, I believe, their chemistry. I believe the two of them were deeply in love, and had, with their children. The little girls were really sweet. They were great too. They actually have a couple of moments where they sing as well, and where they dance. There's one of them that actually does ballet as well, which is a lovely, nice touch. So I really liked the family dynamic that they had. So that was very good. Zac Efron continues to surprise me. I never thought much of Zac Efron when I first saw him about over 10 years ago, when he was doing films like High School Musical. I mean, yes, I have seen those films, and maybe I'll review them one day, but that's another story. I think Zac Efron is great in this movie. Not only is he very good in his dramatic scenes with Zendaya, his singing is amazing. He hasn't lost that singing voice. He was great in High School Musical with his singing voice, and he hasn't lost it at all. I think he's still got a great energy about him, and I liked his character. How his character was caught in the middle of a dilemma. He could have, this choice that he had to make, whether could join PT and the circus gang, or stay in the sort of snobbish, narrow-minded world that he already lived in with his parents, and he didn't want to. I would have liked to have seen him and his parents have more of a conflict and a resolve. There wasn't really much of that. All they get is one scene, like one or two scenes, and that's it. So I didn't think there was enough tension in that relationship in terms of the narrative of the film. They needed to just stretch that out a bit. I do, however, like the romance he has with Zendaya, and I never thought I'd say that about a romance, but their romance is very good. There's quite a dramatic scene about 3/4 of the way into the film when he tries to save her life, and then he gets involved in an accident. I'm not going to say what the scene is, and then because there's this whole tension between them, how he touches her, they hold hands in a concert, and then after that there's this kind of will they won't they thing, and there's this great sequence where she's doing this trapeze routine, and he's trying to grab the rope to stop her, and then they're singing this song, and confessing their love for each other. It's like they love each other, but they can't be together because they're from two different worlds. But in the end, of course, they give in and they fall in love, and it's actually rather sweet. And I think Zendaya is great in the movie. And I have only seen Zendaya in one other movie, Spider-Man: Homecoming. She plays the role of Michelle in that movie, who's like the sarky sort of teenager who doesn't really give a shit. She's just there. So she's quite good. And in this movie, she plays a different role, which is nice. Her trapeze skills are superb. And I think her and Zac Efron have a good chemistry. I really do. Rebecca Ferguson plays Jenny Lind, who is this famous opera singer. She has a couple of good sequences. Her song moved me. Oh my god, wow. There was a couple of moments when this film actually got me teary-eyed. Really, it did. And she really, her song, I don't know what it's called, but her solo, the first time we hear her sing, wow. I mean, oh my god, I did not expect that. I got a little bit emotional, I must say. It was very moving. She's not a huge part of the movie, but she is a part of the movie, and she kind of causes a bit of tension between PT and his wife, which is interesting. And there's various other cast members who play the circus gang, who are the side characters. They're the sort of obscure ones. One of them who stands out the most to me is Letty Lutz. Keala Settle, that's the actress's name. she's great. She has to wear this beard the whole time, which looks obviously ridiculous. But in the film, it's interesting because the film, you know, it's a film about acceptance, and you know, the time where it's set, the society doesn't want to accept these people who are considered as freaks or weirdos. There are constant protests because of the way these people look, not because of the performances. Just there's people that just think that they're freaks and they should be off the street, which is harsh. And now it's interesting when you look back now, where we are now. There's less of that. I mean, there are still people out there who don't give some people the time of day just because of the way they are. But I love that this film as a musical as well. I mean, touched on that, you know, very well. And this man has brought all these people together to kind of, you know, conglomerate as a small society, really, if that makes sense from a political standpoint. You know, they are all, you know, they all band together because they're different, and that's, you know, that's what I love about this film, is that he says to them, well, he encourages them through the performing, that being, you know, looking unorthodox or looking weird or looking like a freak doesn't mean you can't be extraordinary. So I thought that was an excellent message the film touched on, and I think it's a message that people should take away as well after seeing this film. The second song of this film really is lovely. It's just lovely when you see young PT and his, well, soon-to-be wife, obviously his Charity, PT and Charity as kids, singing a song together, falling in love. Oh, it's beautiful. And I'm a guy, so not to stereotype, I am a guy, and I really do think that it will move everybody. I nearly cried. I nearly cried. I got emotional. I was knocking out. I was like, my God, this is beautiful. I could see why my best friend teared up at it as well. The songs are incredible. I mean, I didn't expect much out of the songs. I mean, the song from the trailer obviously is the only one I heard before going into the movie, and that's a good song. It was really, really good. It was a great musical. Like, I would see this on stage. Now that I've seen the movie, I would see it on stage, and there were parts of it, like particularly on the rooftop of their old house, where I think to myself, this looks like it's on a set on stage, and I would actually watch this on stage. I would be interested to see how it would move, and I think they tried to move this in a way, like the fluidity of the transitions did feel very theatre, and I think that's interesting what musical films try and do that. Particularly the number which I don't know the names of the songs, but the song between Philip and PT in the bar, and then it moves to the circus. It's like, oh, transition of time. He's now in the circus gang, and it's blah blah blah, which is great. Which is excuse me, which is really great. I can't say this movie's perfect. It's very well polished. It's a very well directed film. It feels like it's been directed by somebody who has great experience on Broadway. The choreography is amazing. The singing is terrific. Hugh Jackman is, again, his voice is just to die for. Wow. Again, I can't say it's perfect. I can't score it a 10 out of 10. It's not perfect. My minor problems with the movie would have to be, as I said, the tension between Zac Efron and his parents in the film could have been better. Also, the first act of the movie, when they get the gang together before they start doing the circus thing, that did feel a little bit rushed. I'm not saying that each character needed a backstory, but it was just like, cut there, next person, cut there, next person, next person, next person. And then, for a long time, we don't really see them do much. Some of them really don't do much. The only ones that they kind of focus on are Letty and Zendaya's character, Anne Wheeler. Those are the only two that I felt really got a lot of development. The others were just there. I mean, Zendaya's character has a brother as well, and he doesn't do anything. So, I mean, I'm not saying that all of them needed to do everything, but there were times when they just kind of forgot about some of them, and it really did take you out of it. I just thought, well, I don't remember who half of these people are. So, it's a slight detraction, and consequently, because of that, the film does feel a little bit rushed at times. It could be argued that this is a little bit too short. I don't often say that about films, but I do think that in this case it is too short. I would have been happy to see this film go on for another 15 minutes. I think 1 hour 45. You know, you're cramming quite a lot into that. I mean, there's so many musical numbers. There's so much to take in that I think doing it in 1 hour 45 is a bit cramped. Give it another 50. Stretch it to 2 hours, because then it actually is worthwhile. And the film looks great. There are moments when it does feel very like a theatre production, but then there are moments when it feels like a movie. I think it's very well done. It's a very well done film. It's very entertaining as well. I think if I were to watch this again, if I were to go and watch it again and sit through it again, I would probably find quite a lot to enjoy. I'd probably pick up the songs a bit better as well. I might consider going to see it again, because I had such a fun time with it. The Greatest Showman. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect, so I'm going to score it a very strong 9 out of 10. Yeah, it just needed to be a bit longer, and it needed to work on some of its structuring with its characters. But other than that, it's a great movie and a great musical. Again, put this thing on the West End. Put it on Broadway. I want to see it. So that's my review of The Greatest Showman. Please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let's compare and contrast. And that's all for now, folks. So stay tuned for more reviews. So as always, I'm Mr. Stardust11. See ya.